The following is from the Melodramatics podcast, where we discuss all things theatre and drama. So if you like theatre, stage, drama, films, check us out on Spotify, YouTube, and all the other streaming platforms that I'm not going to go through. Alright, hey guys, this is You Can't Rewrite Theatre, and today we're looking at a classic of Broadway and the West End, Chicago. Damien, you're quite the fan of Chicago, and I'm quite lazy when it comes to research. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Chicago is?
Okay, so I had a lot of fun researching Chicago. So basically, Chicago was set in the 20s. It was first staged in 1975 on vaudeville, and it is the longest running show on Broadway. So it overtook Cats 6 years ago, and it's had a lot of big names on it.
Thank God.
So Catherine Zeta-Jones was in the movie adaptation. Former Spice Girl Mel B played Roxy Hart.
What?
Yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus has
So did
been on
Renee
Broadway.
Zellweger.
Wait, what did Billy Ray
What did he
Cyrus
do?
play?
It doesn't say. It just said he joined the cast. So I'm guessing it was not Billy Flynn.
He
But
was the guy who got killed at the start.
you know
They
who
literally
did
just
play?
had him walk out and he got shot.
Fred Casely.
So-
Love it.
So I found out that Usher played Billy Flynn on Broadway in
What?
2006.
Can Usher even act?
Well, you see, he was ushering people into the show and they're like, the guy died, so get up there.
I'm going to give you a slow clap for that one.
Yeah, okay.
Also, Patrick Swayze in 2003.
Whoa, that would
Nice.
be,
That
that
would
would be
excellent.
near the end of his life.
Wow.
So anyway, so Chicago is basically Roxy Hart is set on becoming a star. She sees her name in the lights. Everyone's going to love her. She hooks up with a guy. She's married. She hooks up with a guy who says he's going to get her a gig. It goes south. She shoots the guy. She is put onto essentially death row, which is the Merry Murderess's Row, which is a bunch of women who have all been on trial for murder, essentially. So she is guilty, but she doesn't want to get hanged, so she enlists the help of Billy Flynn, who is an excellent lawyer. A little bit morally questionable, but, you know, he does his job
So,
well.
a lawyer.
Yeah, a lawyer, but, you know, the best lawyer. So long story short, she gets off scot-free, and nobody cares about her in the end, because the next story comes along, and no one's there for Roxy Hart.
And she is a bit old as well.
Is she though?
No.
I mean, old news, certainly, but by the end. But she has her moments. But no, I quite enjoyed this one. I've definitely got a soft spot for it. It ages very well. I mean, I feel that because it's set in the 20s, it's not going to get dated. Like, it's always going to be kind of a very genre-specific thing. I mean, you've got, like, the styling of Fosse, like, the costuming is always really good. Like, Melbourne's production, I was a little bit skeptic on the costuming. There was a lot of black mesh, which didn't really give me a 20s vibe. Like, sure, it had, like a seductive feel to the performance, but I'm not really sure what black mesh was doing for the 20s.
What about if they were actually trying to do the 1820s?
I mean, that could have been really interesting. I mean, you know, some petticoats, all that, and I was going to say plague, but I'm not sure. Was that 1820s?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So not quite the same. Less prohibition, for sure.
Okay, so in this segment, we take it upon ourselves to rewrite the classic plays, and of course this one is Chicago. Should I go first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think you'll all enjoy this one because it's definitely not sexist.
Mm.
Oh, that's
But,
the first.
Yeah, but I also find that Chicago sometimes can be a little bit sexist, the play, and rather than hiding that and updating it, just embrace it. That's what I say. I say always embrace your flaws. So this is set in the future. Governments have very little power, always bowing to corporate interest. So apparently it's the future. Corporations run everything. Once again, guys, the future. This is a male-dominated world. The future. Women are treated as second-class citizens. And
The future?
Yes. Male corporation owners believe that women are stupid and emotionally driven, unlike their male counterparts. But how did we get to this point, guys? Well, I thought that half the fun would be going through the history that led up to these decisions, because I'm a noted historian. Well, in the early 21st century, Ben Shapiro shared his disgust at the Cardi B song WAP. He explained that women shouldn't have vaginas that are so sexually aroused that cleaning products are needed. He was mocked for not being able to sexually stimulate his wife to the point where her own genitalia would produce self-lubricant. But he didn't take this lying down, guys. He's Ben Shapiro. He ran for president using the support of the Nazi and QAnon groups. He won the election in a landslide because of voter fraud. He then proceeded to remove all gender study classes from universities, and slowly over the next 40 years, President Shapiro, he got the constitution changed and, became president for life. Removed all knowledge of the female orgasm and most female rights. Our story starts on Luna with young Roxy. She's at work at this big, large company called Rainforest. They sell a bunch of stuff. It's not an anagram for anything. Extremely large and evil corporation. She's been trapped in the manager's office, who attempts to sexually assault her. Grabbing the purple vibrator that the manager uses to pleasure himself in between meetings, Roxy kills her attacker. She calls the police and a media circus ensues. The company is extremely angry, but, the police handle it. The company comes in, pays for everything, and Roxy's husband is very applauded. He's very angry that Roxy would lead on her manager, but, he understands that women are very emotional and agrees to pay for a lawyer. The company takes Roxy to a debrief meeting about the legal proceedings that will come. At the meeting, Roxy meets Vicky. Now, guys, I've sent you a scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like us all to open it, because I thought it would be important to give the audience a sort of taste of what this would be like. So I wrote up a small scene, and I think we should perform it for them.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking, Damien, since I wrote this when you weren't part of this episode, can you read the stage directions?
Not a worry.
Yeah. I'll, of course, be playing Big Daddy. Lauren, do you want to play Roxy? And
Sure.
Dia, you can play Vicky.
Does Big Daddy have a southern accent? Because he sounds like he should have a southern accent.
I'll try to put on a southern accent for you.
You make me happy.
Huh.
This scene takes place in Big Daddy's office. Billy, Big Daddy's assistant, is outside the office. Enter Roxy.
Hey, Roxy, come on. No, actually, I dropped it all, man. I'm just going to play this sleazy.
Was that Jamaican?
Hey, Roxy, come on in. I'm just talking to Vicky. You see, Vicky, tomorrow, in front of the company directors, you've got to be showing off those tits. Show the directors that even though women aren't smart, they're nice to keep around.
That's kind of sexist.
What's wrong with being sexy?
I thought we were having a meeting.
Yeah, see, the company thinks it'll be cheaper to try you two together, given how similar your cases are. Sit down, Toots.
Roxy sits down.
Were you defending yourself too?
Yeah, I'm sick of my husband beating me for wanting to spend time with my friends, so I shot him while he slept. Once in the cock, twice in the head.
I don't think our cases are similar.
No, they're exactly the same. See, let me explain something to you so you can understand, sugar tits. When you both called the police, the media showed up, and all our fucking shareholders saw that there were some problems, and our share price dropped.
We've been tried for murder, and you're complaining about share prices?
Oh, what? No, let me explain something. Let me explain things in ways you can understand. We own the cops. The charges have been dropped. Murder is a normal part of corporate life. I killed 16 of my managers to become HR supervisor. My assistant, Billy, he's tried to kill me 3 times. Hey, Billy! Billy! You tried to kill me 3 times, yeah? That you know of? I'm gonna kill you. I'm sure you will. See, the company doesn't give a shit about murder. But we will not allow our share price to drop. Do you know what happens when the share price drops?
Yeah, we know what happens when the share price drops.
Yeah, honey, I don't think you do, so let me explain.
You do know what mansplaining is, yeah?
Mansplaining is when an expert explains it to dumb broads.
The share price drops and the company loses money.
Well done. I'm impressed. Alright, Sexy, your husband said he'd pay for the lawyer, and I think it'll be hard enough finding 1 robot, let alone 2.
What do you mean robot? We want a lawyer.
And you are getting a lawyer. A lawyer robot. Look, no man wants to defend let alone 2 women who costed a company money. Anyway, I have a meeting, so go put on your makeup or something, and yeah, just look pretty for the trial tomorrow.
Vicky and Roxy walk out of the office. Billy is pouring poison into Big Daddy's coffee.
You two make me sick.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I love it.
So, as we can tell, this world is just a little bit sexist towards women.
A little bit.
That's
Got
the
some
word.
mild undertones.
Just a little.
Yeah, very, very 50s corporate culture.
Out of personal curiosity, what was the coroner's cause of death when the guy was killed by the purple dildo? Vibrator?
I assume they... I have no idea, actually. How would you describe that?
I don't know. It depends exactly specifically how it was used to kill them. You've got a
Blunt
multitude of
force
options
trauma.
there.
If it was a really big one, and she smacked him hard enough.
Hey, sounds like you may as well have just clubbed him with a baseball bat.
Yeah, I watched a movie one time where
Crazy.
yeah, where this woman she was being abused by this guy, and so she wanted to get revenge. So she drugged him and she inserted a vibrator up his ass, and it was plugged in, and she left him there and let him burn out.
Ooh.
It was a thrilling movie. Anyway, back on this. So Roxy and Vicky meet with their robot lawyer, who says they should both, and this is actually a note from Mel. She looked over this and gave me a little bit of inspiration, and this part is very much her, because it's a collaborative process. Roxy, don't die, dear. Roxy and Vicky meet with their robot lawyer, who says they both should say they're pregnant with boys, so the company may take pity on them. Both decline. He then explains that they should try not to have their periods during the trial and try to have their periods afterwards because they don't want to be emotional when they're talking. Later, Vicky explains to Roxy that she was planning to leave her husband anyway. She just knew that he wouldn't be prosecuted for what he did to her, so she had to make sure he couldn't harm another person. She goes on to tell Roxy that her friend was in fact a lover, and the lover had actually given her an orgasm. Roxy is very confused because she's never even heard what an orgasm is before. So as best as she can, Vicky explains to her what an orgasm is and explains that she doesn't actually need another person around to have one. See, good part of a female health.
Girl power.
Yes. Vicky also...
Liberating.
Yes. Roxy also explains to Vicky that she feels like the right thing to do would be to forgive her attacker even though she killed him. Vicky explains that she is under no obligation to ever forgive a person who's attacked her or wronged her, and she shouldn't feel obligated to. Roxy doesn't think they'll win the trial, and if they do, no doubt they'll have to say sorry to their attackers. Vicky tells Roxy that she's heard of a planet where they send women who are criminals and can't be re-educated. They both decide they would rather live on this planet than live in this male-dominated world. At the trial, to their dismay, they see that Big Daddy is in fact the judge. They both decide to give the court the razzle-dazzle and during the song get close enough to Big Daddy to murder him in front of the entire court.
Oh.
Just sealing their fates and sending them to the planet of women, which is in fact a prison camp. But they're happy because, they get away from this world and they'd rather live there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had it coming.
Yeah. I think this is the most uplifting, child-friendly musical I've ever made.
I mean, you're not wrong compared to the other ones.
Hey, only 4 people died in this one. I like to, I was actually gonna end it with Billy accidentally poisoning, but then I thought no, the women need to kill Big Daddy. You can't say all this sort of sexist, horrible shit and not die.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the other option is they could run for president.
Oh, yeah, and get
run their own planet.
Mm.
But yeah, I was very inspired by the comic Bitch Planet, so it's based on that. If you haven't read Bitch Planet, check it out. It's essentially a world where any sort of tiny thing that women do gets them a prison sentence. So if they don't make a man coffee, they get sent to prison.
Lovely.
Yeah.
We're not far off that, huh?
But anyway, Lauren,
Mm-hmm.
what were you thinking?
So I've taken a leaf out of Benny's book and written a scene-ish. But
You are
basically-
stealing my gimmick.
Yeah. Basically, Roxy Hart is a marionette puppet, so kind of like Pinocchio, and she dreams to be a living and breathing human. And she lives with her creator, Amos. He's old and dull, but she's got him wrapped around her finger. Amos's best friend, Fred Casely, spends a lot of time at their house and likes to play with Roxy. He poses her in embarrassing positions and bends her body in ways that the human body can't be bent. Occasionally, when Amos isn't looking, Fred will get sexual with Roxy, kissing her painted lips and stroking her wooden breasts. Now, one day, Fred arrives while Amos isn't home. He lets himself in and goes to the room where Roxy is. He picks her up and plays with her like he usually does. But this time, he's rough with Roxy, and more disturbed than he usually is. Roxy becomes fed up with Fred's crude behaviour and twists herself so that her strings wrap around his neck. You see, Fred didn't know that although she's a puppet, Roxy is alive. She can move and talk on her own. So Fred claws at the string around his neck. Rosie tenses, tightening the string until Fred falls to the floor. Cue Fred. Please, please, he screams, but Roxy doesn't let go. She's pulling her strings until Fred is dead.
Nice.
An hour later, Amos arrives home to see Fred dead and Roxy detached from her strings.
What happened?
He came toward me with your pistol from your bureau.
Did you fight him?
Like a tiger. He had strength. I had none, and he had a gun.
Oh, that's a good thing. I came home from work on time. I can't imagine if he'd violated you or something.
Oh, Amos.
I'll make you a cup of tea as well.
Oh, Amos, you have to take the blame for it. You're sure to get off. If someone like me went to jail, who knows what they'd do to me?
I mean, I feel since you're a puppet, I'm gonna be blamed for it anyway. Okay.
And so Roxy convinces Amos to take the fall. But when he gets to trial, Amos breaks and tells the jury the truth about how Roxy really killed Fred, that she was his creation and how he regretted giving Fred the spare keys to his house, and that maybe if he didn't, Fred wouldn't be dead. But the jury just laugh, calling him a madman, and send him away to a psych ward instead of prison.
Point made there.
A flash forward to 10 years later, Roxy is still in Amos's house where Amos left her the night Fred was killed. The house is old and deteriorating. Roxy has no strings and is walking around. She looks somewhat happy. The doorbell rings. Roxy opens it. We see the famous reporter, Billy Flynn. Billy comes inside and Roxy offers him a drink. When she returns back, her strings are detached, and she kills Billy the same way she killed Fred. Before he breathes his last breath, Roxy kisses Billy, and she transforms into a human.
Am I sorry? Are you kidding?
Then she steps over Billy's body and exits the house. Sirens are heard in the air. The end.
Nice. That was that was different.
I like that.
Yeah.
It raises an interesting point with like artificial intelligence and everything like that. Do you think we'll ever come to a stage where like sex robots have rights?
I don't know. It depends how advanced our programming gets, I guess.
That keeps me awake at night, Benji.
Well, something has to.
This is true.
I mean, it does kind of ruin Pinocchio for me. Like, I see Geppetto in a whole different light.
Oh no.
We had to carve out the bits.
Yeah, well, he's got no strings to hold him down, but...
He was looking at Pinocchio and he was like, you know what would make this better rather than that long nose? A set of luscious tits.
I'm gonna have my shake now.
Boy, I did not expect that, but okay.
Okay, Damien, do you want to... did you write...
I didn't write a scene, but I
That's
did
okay.
have a take on it. So basically, I was going back to the Salem witch trials.
Oh, I like this.
Cool. So Roxy Hart is an actual witch, so like she knows witchcraft. So she takes a lover in the village. It goes south. She puts a hex on him, and he dies. But obviously, her husband has to take the blame because otherwise she's going to get convicted of witchcraft. So he finds a voodoo doll of himself in her bedside table, or, whatever furniture they had back then. He finds a voodoo doll of himself, and he decides that he can't go on with it. He's going to turn her in. So even though she's a witch, she's not amphibious. If they drop her in the river to determine if she's a witch or not, she will in fact drown. So she enlists the help of the mayor's son to get her off trial. So she offers him a love potion to have any girl that he wants in the village in exchange for granting him her freedom.
Ooh, what if he picks her, though?
Ooh, who knows? Who knows? But no, he's the mayor's son. He can have any tail he wants. And who wants a witch, right? They're only going to get that.
I reckon dating a witch would be a turn on.
I guess it depends. I mean, like, modern day witch or old school witch? Like Harry Potter witch? Like voodoo kind of witch? Like, what kind of witch we talking?
I don't know. I feel like old school witch would be a lot more older, which itself would be a different sort of fetish.
What about like a Wiccan kind of witch where they're like, you know what, I need you in order for this relationship to work, you have to go bathe in a bathtub full of milk under the full moon with several eels, okay? It's just a relationship thing for me.
I mean, at least I don't have to watch, like, Married at First Sight.
That's some witchcraft right there. Anyway, sorry, where was I? So the mayor's son. She's enlisted the help of the mayor's son because she's not willing to perform her own razzle-dazzle. It's too risky, obviously. She can't be caught doing actual witchcraft again. Now, my ending actually goes south. She doesn't get off. She does get convicted. So in my story, she's more like the French girl. Except, actually guilty. That and the fact that if it was, in fact, the Salem things, they wouldn't really get a trial. They'd just get dunked in a lake. Yeah, so it's not quite the upbeat ending where Roxy gets off and goes on to live a happy life in show business. But I feel it is accurate to the era and the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, our stories are very similar, as in, like, Roxy doesn't get off.
Although she did get wet in mine.
Ah! Don't let Ben Shapiro know that. It scares him.
Love it.
Okay, Dia.
Oh, yeah.
Want to ask you your version of Chicago?
My turn. Yep, my turn. Okay, so I went a different way to you, nutjobs.
What, a sensible script?
Believe it or not, yes. So I went around the idea that the place Chicago is based around, the place of Chicago. So instead of Chicago, I decided to move it a bit closer to home. So for those people who don't,
Melbourne.
So for those people who don't know, we are based in Melbourne, Australia. So the play is called Melbourne. Crazy.
I love it already.
Crazy, right? So instead of Roxy and Vicky, I changed them to more common names found in Melbourne. So
Daryl.
Oh God.
Bruce.
No. So Olivia wants to be a theatre actress, right? So one night, she and her lover attend a show at La Mama Theatre, where the talented Charlotte is performing. Charlotte is arrested for the murder of her husband and sister. Olivia and her lover go back home. Now, he wants sex, and he admits that he lied to her about getting her on stage.
So a normal guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, so since, we have gun laws in Australia, she pulls out a knife and stabs him. The cops come, her husband lies for her, but when he realizes he's been cheated on, she's arrested. Now, since we don't have capital punishment anymore, she faces life in prison for murder.
You know what would have been awesome if she killed him with a boomerang?
Yeah, that's...
It's like fully Australian. Just...
It's Melbourne, not the Northern Territory.
Melbourne, yes, good.
Maybe
Place
it's
to
by a
live.
train.
She killed him with a needle.
Oh, God.
God.
A needle in a strawberry.
No,
yeah.
fucking tram.
Oh, God.
Choked him with avocado toast.
Poured the coffee on top.
Oh, God. Alright, so at the Dame Phyllis Frost Centre, which is a women's prison in Ravenhall, Olivia is held in remand before her court date. She befriends Charlotte and manages to get the best defence lawyer in the city, William. So then the show then focuses on her appeal to the public and how she gets the liberal hipster community to side with her through many humorous and often whimsical debates. In the Supreme Court, she is found innocent, and Olivia and Charlotte start their own theatre company in Brunswick. So that is my Melbourne take on Chicago.
In between every scene, you need Sam Newman out there, like, just complaining. These women shouldn't be convicted, Bill.
Just saying something a bit sexist and racist.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Kyle Sandilands is out there just going, man, I think that all women should do a stint in prison because they're all crazy.
Yes. Can we
Or you
get
could
rid
have
of
had Julia Gillard complaining about misogyny and sexism.
Yes. That was a good speech.
How does it go? It was
I will not be
lectured about misogyny
and
by this
sexism
man.
by this man. I will not. We had to do that in drama once.
Yeah.
Good on her. Good freaking on her.
Since this is our 10th episode, and we do have a silent partner with us who helps write some stuff, she has also sent in a version of Chicago. Funny enough, we both based it on the same thing. I based mine on Bitch Planet, and so did she. So Mel has sent in a version, and Lauren, since you're good at reading, would you like to read it?
You've jinxed me now that you said I'm good. Alright, so Mel's version is called Chicago. Feminist approach, loosely based off comic series Bitch Planet. Characters include Roxy, Velma, Mama Morton, Billy Flynn, who's the lawyer, and Amos Hart. Wow, this is long. Style, social realism with elements of epic theatre. Love it already. Roxy Hart is a lonely housewife in 1958, living in a typical suburban American town. White picket fences and uniform houses. Every day cleans her spacious house and sighs, dreaming of the height of fame and adoration. Her adoring but naive husband, Amos, imagines her as Snow White, happily cleaning the house in order to please him, despite her occasional daydreaming. After all, what else can a married 1950s housewife aspire to? And it helps that she is a pretty young thing, of course. Amos sees that she has no troubles in the world. As adoring as Amos is of her, he always seems emotionally distant and busy with work, often working long hours at the office and then coming home and working in the home office until late into the night. Roxy doesn't take much notice of this, as the time away from her husband allows her to indulge in societal sins, or non-conformant behaviour that is acceptable for men but not for women.
I just drink.
This has always been the way in this society has functioned. A few simple rules for the ladies that include, but aren't limited to, no wearing of pants, no vote or forming of independent committees, no attending bars or consuming alcohol, no smoking, no fattening food, no empowering or enthralling music, never speaking of abortion, miscarriages, or female-related health. A trip to the hairdresser is more highly recommended than attending the doctor. And only buying the gender-regulated toys or clothes for their children, which means blue for boys, pink for girls. They must also take into account that money spent on a female child can only be 54% of the amount spent on male children, in order to get women ready for their earnings in the workforce, should they be foolish enough to enter it.
Well, that's just basic economics.
It was a well-known fact that behind closed doors, all women had their secrets that they indulged in, and it became an unspoken rule among younger women not to report anyone else for partaking in guilty pleasures. For Roxy, this is smoking and drinking and dancing to jazz by herself in the attic. Her favourite sinful tune to listen to is How Could Red Riding Hood Have Been So Very Good by A.P. Randolph, a 1925 hit that was banned from the radio for its suggestive lyrics, which she has on an old record. The tone is scratchy, but she loves that she has to strain to catch the words, just as she strains to keep her cigarettes and alcohol a secret from everyone. It is like it is a secret tune, only for her, and the audience only catches snatches of words as the song plays. Red, good, wolf, door, red, dead. One day, Amos is out, and a nosy neighbour, a craggly Mrs. Palmer, sees Roxy dancing through the attic window whilst vacuuming her curtains. Who vacuums their curtains?
I do it every second day.
Really?
Damien, how often do you vacuum the curtains?
I've currently got Venetians. I don't vacuum them, but I did break out the feather duster just this
Oh.
morning.
Dear, how many times does Dan vacuum the curtains?
Not often, because don't see the point. Actually, probably should. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Mel.
Yes.
She immediately calls the compliance hotline, a system exclusively for women, to anonymously report other women of social sins, and within minutes, armed units have arrived at Roxy's unsuspecting home, shot down the door, and dragged her by her hair into the back of a van.
So just normal Melbourne.
The armed units leave as quickly as they came. The other women of the neighbourhood peer through the window at the vehicles going by, then silently return to their cleaning. Roxy is taken to a shipping yard and bundled into a wooden crate. On the side, she glimpses the stamp, Chicago, for all your feminine transport needs. Wow. The next 4 hours, she is unaware of where she is being transported to. Her whole world is the blackness of the Chicago box. When Roxy finally arrives at her location, she is indoors in what looks like an interrogation room. But Roxy observes the walls made of metal, fitted with tiny black and white television screens that broadcast ads for beauty products. A matronly lady enters, dressed in a conservative sort of governess dress. She states that Roxy can call her Mama, and she is the one she should go to if she has any valid issues about her stay here. Mama drags a trolley containing a tattoo machine and a basket of crude woolen dresses that cover from the neck to the toe, except for an open back. Roxy is forced to have Jazz tattooed across her back in big letters, the brand mark of her crime, and of the prison in which she now finds herself. Mama, as she is tattooing, explains that the place that she is in is a prison for non-conformant women, known colloquially as the Rag. The women who live at the Rag are fellow non-conformants. As Roxy is introduced to her cohort, she learns that she shares a call with a lady called Velma. Sorry, that's supposed to say Cell. On Velma's back...
I want gender-neutral prisons.
On Velma's back, in big letters, she has the word pants tattooed. She was a primary school teacher who was deemed as vulgar for changing into pants to teach a physical education class. Of course she was.
Hey, it's skirts and shorts, that's it.
Yeah. On her second week on the Rag, which Roxy has discovered is built from a cargo ship and floats in the middle of an unknown ocean, making all means of escape impossible. Sounds like Alcatraz, kind of.
Yeah.
She has learned that all the women on the Rag seem to be married or in the midst of a divorce.
I just got on the Rag. Yeah.
Is the Rag a reference to a song?
I thought it was a reference to, like,
Periods.
when women have periods, yeah.
Ah, yeah, that would make
Like,
sense.
you know, you're on the Rag.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
Yeah. I've experienced it.
of course you have.
I need to see a doctor.
Well, but Benny, if you're bleeding once a month, please do go see a doctor.
Yeah. She has learned that all the women on the Rag seem to be married or in the midst of a divorce and range from the ages of 14 to 90 years of age. She's introduced to her lawyer, Big Bill, and a sharply dressed man whose smile is slightly too wide for his face, and he explains to her that the one way off the Rag is to win the annual talent pageant, but they can only enter the talent pageant with the explicit permission of their husbands on the outside. Roxy is surprised when she learns that the talent pageant is actually an annual beauty competition that she used to see broadcast on her home television, Desperate Housewives. Seeing that she has a way out of this place, she readily accepts the part of the beautiful housewife who wants to be adored for her good looks. She excitedly tells Velma of her chance to get out, and Velma is indifferent, saying that her own husband has not given her permission for her to enter the pageant, as he thinks she is too ugly to stand a chance.
What a supportive husband.
Yeah. But agrees to coach Roxy in order to win the contest. Roxy promises on the outside she will find out who runs the rag and convince them to release Velma as payment for her help. They set to work. Velma's beauty regime for Roxy is painful, but as they are reminded by the advertisements screening around them, beauty is pain. True fact. Plucking, peroxide, and perming follow. Velma manages to construct a corset from their bed frame, and though it cuts in her skin to wear, Roxy wears it and finds that when her waist is ridiculously small and her breasts pointy as bullets, that the cameras from the studio on the ship all point at her like a spotlight on an enemy plane. But it works. Velma and Roxy create a mantra for themselves when times are low, beneath the breast, referring to spirit of the heart and not their looks, which empowers them to work harder toward their goal. Months of grueling corset wearing and friendship with Velma growing, she is voted the housewife most desperate for adoration by public vote and given a holiday to a location of her choosing, which is a code phrase for release from prison.
She's going to go to Florida.
Love it. Of course, before she can leave, Roxy endures 3 painful laser removal treatments for her jazz tattoo, leaving her permanently scarred and the skin stretched so much that it leaves her with a slight hunch that she must work through in order to maintain her newfound beauty and grace. Velma and she complete her plan, and Roxy promises to get her out. Other inmates become aware of this plan, and as soon as Roxy is taken from the prison, Velma is jumped and her face and chest brutally mauled, leaving her permanently scarred. Unfortunately for Roxy, she's not able to keep her newfound beauty and must revert to how she looked before the rag, so no one suspects it was her on the Desperate Housewives. She's taken back to her home and thrown unceremoniously into the carport, having signed a stipulation from Big Bill that she is never to speak of the rag again. When she enters her house, the place is filthy, a thin layer of dust covering this place. She sighs in frustration and searches for Amos. She hears him in his home office. She swings open the door to greet him, and I suppose thank him for his permission to compete on the Desperate Housewives.
So you should have picked the Sopranos.
She is shocked to find Amos hunched over a huge bank of computers, furiously typing commands into the keyboard. There are a great bank of small black and white screens, and as Roxy approaches behind him, she sees one of them is linked to a feed from her cell on the rag, which now shows a beaten Velma lying on the bed by herself. Scanning the room, Roxy observes a poster on the wall which reads, "Wives Obey." She realizes that her husband is the mastermind of the rag, running the whole system remotely. Quietly, she leaves the office, Amos still being too preoccupied with his computer to notice her. She calmly goes to the kitchen and begins making a sandwich. Amos's favourite. Bologna and mustard. She knocks on the door of the home office pleasantly. Amos answers the door. "Honey, I'm home." Roxy grabs the sandwich and tackles him to the ground, forcing the bread and meat down his throat, and Amos struggles before stopping, having choked on the bologna. Roxy leaves his body in the hallway and goes to further inspect the office. She raids the drawers and finds a written copy of their wedding vows, with her signature, but a smaller print along the bottom, that she has never seen before, which reads, "In accordance with the law, wives must obey husbands. Any disobedience is to be reported immediately to the Regulation Authority of Girlkind, aka RAG. It is the husband's responsibility to ensure wives' obedience. Power to those men who serve mankind." Roxy recalled her wedding vows to obey. Amos had been the leader of it all, behind her back, regulating the society in which it was so hard for her and all other women to exist. Her marriage had not been even a union, as she had agreed to. Roxy immediately sits down at the computer and regards the advertisement streaming onto the prison screens, and immediately enters in her own text, beneath the breast. On the screen, she sees all the advertisements fade away before these words, and sees the mutilated face of Velma look up at the screen and smile. The next morning at dawn, Roxy drags the old steel garbage can to the curb of their home, struggling with the bulk of the weight. A young neighbour sees her and comes over to help. In her efforts, the bin falls and the hand of Amos falls out of the black garbage bag. The young neighbour sees this, and Roxy is sure that she will go back to the rag. Instead, the young lady gently places Amos's hand back into the bag, replaces the lid on the can, and helps Roxy drag it to the remainder of the curb. The young lady smiles cheekily at Roxy and gives a small nod before dragging her own garbage can to the curb. Roxy smiles back. Times are changing, and Roxy can make a start from within her very own home. And then she's got a note, themes. Women as antagonists to other women rather than empowering them. Women are often the harshest adversary of feminist movements, as they are content with the way things have always been.
Yeah, true.
I enjoyed it.
That was good. Yeah, that was really good.
It's definitely
Thank
fun.
you, Mel.
Yeah, thank you.
I do love the idea of him choking on a sandwich though. Like it just brings back that thing, like, you know, some men just can't handle their sandwich.
Yeah, that's right.
I like the idea that the moment a woman gets out of prison, she goes and makes her man a sandwich.
Oh, shut up.
I just love that it was bologna too. Like, it's so
Bologna and
American.
mustard.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, she wasn't making like a cucumber sandwich.
No.
No watercress here.